So the Louisville police are out of control. They have no. It doesn't matter if you're young, old, black, white. You just pick up any crimes time. They're beating up anybody and everybody, young, old. Doesn't matter nationality. It's just they're just oppressors. It's a police state here, and it's pretty apparent with the 1999 shooting of Desmond Rudolph. So just maybe they suspected he was stealing a vehicle, but it was his own vehicle. So they're just shooting at this young, unarmed black man. I believe he's 18 years old, and they murder him. You know, he's got no drugs on him, no weapon, no guns, and no reasons. There's no reason for why this young man had died. And they're murdered by Chris Horn and Paul Kincaid. So those are the murderers. Chris Horn and Paul Kincaid were the ones that pulled the trigger and murdered this young man. And so, Louisville in 1975, there was the race riots that had happened for nearly a year. So 1975 was about 10 years after we had got integration passed with the Supreme Court, Brown versus Board of Education, 54. And so this 21 years later, Louisville still hadn't integrated, so they was forced to integrate through busing. So there's going to be busing black kids into the white schools, and that just set white people off for about a year. J. Blaine Hudson actually called it a mini civil war here in Louisville. So the white folks was out in the street, they were protesting, throwing rocks at the buses, causing all kinds of disruptions. So that's 1975. Now, 2007, we got the court case that says you can't discriminate. You know, they said the Chief Justice Roberts says you can't fight racism by using race. You know, you can't, if you don't want to be racist, then don't be racist. That's what he said. So the way they had solved the integration was by putting, black kids with the white kids. But in order to do that, you got to say, well, these are the black kids and these are the white kids. Now in 2007, they're saying you can't say black, white. You can't do that because you're reinforcing racism. And so they didn't want to do that. So now that, there's a fear that we're going to resegregate. We're going to go back into neighborhood schools that's a problem because housing is still segregated, and also with the property taxes, poor areas ain't going to have as much money for their school system as the rich areas. So that's why Louisville did that. Is they just kind of take all the kids, put them in a pool, and then kind of mix them all up, and then just put them, at a random drawing just anywhere. So I don't know. I feel like I've also heard reports too that that's the final end. When we don't have to say black and white this, when we're all just kind of good. I don't know. I don't think we're there yet. But I guess time will tell. So, okay, you have Desmond Rudolph, who was shot, 18-year-old man, has nothing on him for no apparent reason. He's dead, right? Because you got some trigger-happy cops, Chris Horn and Paul Kincaid. In 2000, Mayor Dave Armstrong fires Gene Sherrard. So Gene Sherrard is the fucking police chief. And he's a police chief who not only didn't fire the murderers or indict them or get them put on charges, but he gives them exceptional valor awards. So what a slap in the face to not just Desmond Rudolph and his family, but really, to everybody. So he gives them exceptional valor awards, like, hey, good job, good job for killing fucking innocent people, good for you. And once he did that, the mayor, Dave Armstrong, he said that Mayor Dave Armstrong fired Gene Sherrard because he said that it was in poor taste or it was bad timing or something like that. And so, Gene Sherrard gets fired. So good, this is a good thing. Mayor Dave Armstrong is making sure there's accountability, and there's an innocent that was murdered, and you can't just celebrate people as if like murdering innocent black folks is a good thing. And that sounds like the Klan, that's some Klan type of shit. KKK, that's what they want. They want to murder innocent people, and they love the cowards that they are. They all coalesce with 10 of them with hoods, and they get innocent people. The police aren't supposed to be like that, but the lines blur with this case. So you have Mayor Dave Armstrong. He fires the chief of police, right? He does something proactive, and there is some accountability for this situation. Now, the chief police, the aristocratic fucking Nazi fascist retard, Gene Sherrard, the white supremacist piece of shit bitch. After he gets fired, you got 9 district police commanders, they quit. So he gets fired, then you got 9 district police commanders quit, and then once they quit, then you have all the, these cops are just so pissed off. So they quit, then you got the Ku Klux Klan, they come in marching, right? Oh, we're going to save the day, right, to protect and celebrate black murderers. That's all they care about. Chris Horn and Paul Kincaid, they basically just, it makes it feel like LMPD, KKK. It almost seems like they're in it together. KKK's cheering on the street, and then you're going to see the police are going to start marching on the street in support of their fired Gene Sherrard, in support of their 9 commanders that had quit. They don't understand, politics. The rogue militia needs to be subordinate to the political structure, to the citizenry. You can't have just people with guns doing whatever they want to do. They have to be accountable to somebody, so they should be accountable to those who are elected. And when those who are elected find they're in a breach of duty, then their ruling reigns supreme. So you have you have the Ku Klux Klans out there. The grand jury never indicted. They didn't say whether or not Desmond, they never indicted. Again, another time the cover-up is happening. You have a cover-up, there's a murder, and the grand jury doesn't indict. You don't have enough. The probable cause is the threshold that you need in order to get an indictment. Was there probable cause that a crime had happened? There's a dead fucking body. Of course there's plenty of probable cause to issue an indictment. Of course it is. But Desmond Rudolph, he didn't get any indictment. There was no indictment for his murder. So Paul Kincaid and Chris Horn never got indicted. They never indicted. It seems like there should have been a riot, but instead of a people riot, you had a police riot. Just like a banana republic, the cops said fuck it, and hundreds of LMPD started marching on the streets to protest you, me, and we, to occupy Louisville, the whole fucking city. Louisville's finest, the officers of peace. It's Howard Whalen, officers of peace. We ain't never had a people rebellion, but we've had ourselves in Louisville a 5.0 occupation, and it's no wonder our prison rates are catching inflation. You have the police essentially are the prison industry whores. So there's lots of money to be made. You see Crime Times, how they make a ton of money. You see how the prisons make a ton of money. I mean, the judges got to get paid. The bailiffs got to get paid. There's a lot of people that needs people to keep on committing crimes so that way you can get paid. And so if there are no crimes happening, then the cops have to go rustle some criminals up, right? They got to start some shit, and then hopefully they can say, well, resisting arrest, disorderly conduct. Well, it's disorderly because you started punching everybody, and then they didn't like it, and they restrained you. Well, I'm a cop, I'm going to do as I want. So we have, 5.0 occupation. So Desmond Rudolph was shot by Louisville police officers Chris Horn and Paul Kincaid on May 13th. 22 rounds shot at him. He's hit 10 times, and they claim he almost tried to run over him. He's running away from cops that are trying to shoot at him, right? And what would you do if you see cops that are trying to shoot at you? And then he crashes into a telephone pole, and then the family of Desmond Rudolph gets $200,000. Now, some of these prices actually seemed pretty paltry. They seemed pretty just dinky. I mean, the life of Desmond Rudolph was only worth $200,000. Like that's it. You had the boy who had got raped in Grant County. He won $1.4 million. In Grant County, 18-year-old, he was in jail for traffic violation, and the jailers throw him into some rapist cell, and then he gets raped all night. Right? He gets raped until he passes out. He wakes up and has to suck all the inmates' dicks and stuff. And this was the jailers. The jailers did this. So I believe he earned every penny of the $1.4 million. But if you compare that payouts to the payouts for those who have died in Louisville, it doesn't even compare. You have, Desmond Rudolph. He got $200,000. But then you had Rodney Abernathy, who got $600,000. So I think how they're determining the price is how good is their case, how much is the public paying attention, is there any pressure, on the public to do something about it. So you have Rodney Abernathy, who gets paid, his family gets paid $600,000, but then the price seems to go down. Timothy Barnes, he murders Adrian Reynolds, and then his family gets $350,000. So it went from $600,000 to $350,000, and then come to May 13th, 1999, $200,000. So it just seems like the life of an innocent black man who is slain by the LMPD just keeps on getting lower and lower. And I guess it's just because the LMPD, they're learning how to cover their tracks up. It just seems like it's much easier just to cover their shit up, pay the fucking settlement, and then just keep on operating as if as business as usual. And that's that's wrong on so many levels, but for the main part, they're not actually protecting and serving us, the people. They're protecting and serving their own self, their own paymasters. So after Desmond Rudolph, it was a big deal because once the commanders got fired, and then once the Gene Schroeder got fired, the police were marching on the streets. They were pissed off. Well, they're the ones with guns. They're the ones with the power. And if they're the ones marching on the streets, that's a coup d'etat. That's a military takeover. That's a military coup d'etat. And that was the point. The point is the police can do as they want. When they want to march on the street, it's their streets. So the commanders had quit, and the police chief had quit. So it's remarkable solidarity. But hopefully they all lost their jobs. You're gonna quit and then march on the street? Get the fuck out of here. The mayor can fire the fucking police chief. That's the way it works. And sorry about your luck. The Dave Armstrong actually done something good for Louisville, and then the police, just like the Ku Klux Klan in 1975, just like lots of white supremacists, they marched on the street, in a military, basically parade. So after this, in April 11th of 2000, Louisville Police Department announced that the officers will be required to fill out a use of force report every time they charge someone with resisting arrest. So anybody that has resisting arrest on it, they have to say there's a use of force, right? Because if they're resisting arrest, then therefore force needs to be used. And if force is used, then you got to write a report out. And it will make more use of an early intervention system to identify officers who file a lot of use of force reports or are subject to complaints and lawsuits. A month later, May 8, 2000, the Civilian Police Review Board ordinance was declared unconstitutional. Now, this is important because this is something Louisville does not have. Cincinnati, they had riots, and then after they had riots, they got a black mayor, and then they got a citizen review complaint board. And a citizen review complaint board is there to check for any sorts of police brutality complaints. So if there's a complaint of police brutality, they'll go check it out to make sure that there is, to make sure that that's not true, or make sure it is true, to follow up with that. And maybe one report might not, do a police officer in, but many reports will do a police officer in. And the police aren't the enemy. You want people out there who's got your back and who's going to protect you out there. But it's not how they're working. So I was going somewhere else with that, but I forgot. But the Citizen Review Board, the ordinance was declared unconstitutional because it included subpoena powers. So that's what the Jefferson Circuit Judge Tom McDonald had threw it out, for. So he wants, he doesn't want to have any power. He just wants to strip it of all its power. Yeah, you can form the damn thing, but you just can't have any real authority. Well, I mean, that's bullshit. Oh yeah, the point I was wanting to make is a police officer, they need to have a stellar reputation, not only because to determine that they're good people and will do what they're supposed to do, but also because they got to testify in court. They have to testify in court. Here's what I saw. That person did this. That person did this, and then the jury has to believe what it is that they're saying. So if there's a ton of, police brutality charges against them, then their credibility is that much diminished. So the Citizen Police Review Board ordinance was declared unconstitutional. So they tried to get it passed. The Board of Alderman, which was the upper house, back in the day before the merger, had agreed to appeal the decision against the civilian review to the Kentucky Court of Appeals. So the legislature's for it, but the judicial branch is against it, and now they're going to the Court of Appeals. So they're going up the bracket. Then we don't hear about this anymore. So what happened to the Police Review Board? The Police Review Board would have been able to, that would give us a check. There's no checks and balances with the police around here. The police do as they please. It doesn't matter, who's in charge. It doesn't matter who's in the executive, judicial, or legislative branch. The only branch they understand is the boys in blue, the boys with guns. Let's see, the boys in blue and with guns. I don't. That's the only branch. Is their own branch, right? So, and they're not done killing. We're going to find out that they're going to kill another Clifford Lewis Jr. The very next year. So they don't stop.